joining us this afternoon. For those watching at home, my name is John Paris. I'm the chair of the Asian American Group's Endorsement Committee. Seated to my left is Shana Baucum. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Bachman.
Bachman, excuse me. Shana Bachman, who is running for Justice Court Department 13. And seated to my right is Suzan Baucum. I'm just going to call you by your first names if that's all right with you. Who is the incumbent in Justice Court 13. Just to give you a little bit of background on us, the Asian American Group's been in existence for over 20 years now. For the last 8 years, we've been running panel-style interviews just like this for both primary and general elections, everywhere from municipal races all the way up to federal races. We anticipate finalizing our endorsements by the end of the month. We have some more interviews coming up the following weekend, and then we will have one makeup day, but that obviously won't implicate your race since you're the only two individuals running for Justice Court 13. That having been said, we would like to know, now that you know a little bit about us, we'd like to know something about you. And we'll start with Shana and rotate to Suzan. Shana, why have you decided to run for this particular race at this particular time?
Well, I've been a public defender here in Las Vegas for the last 8 years, and I've been in court almost every day for those 8 years. So we're really in the trenches. We see what's going on with our clients. And some of my coworkers and I just really felt like we need judges who are going to see our clients as whole people and work towards integrating them back into society. And I have handled 2,500 criminal cases. I have argued at every level of Nevada State Court, and I believe I have the experience to be a great justice of the peace.
Suzan.
I'm Judge Suzan Baucum, and I'm running for re-election for Las Vegas Justice of the Peace in Department 13. I'm in my 6th year on the bench, serving my 5th year on the DUI specialty court, where we hear anywhere between 65 and 100 matters every single day. My 1st year on the bench, I handled the civil court. And when I took over for the civil department, we had a backlog of cases of 6,000 cases. So in 2010, when I was elected and took the bench in 2011, there was a small room, ceiling to floor, stacked full of default judgments that had not been addressed in months. So in the first 60 days on the bench, the other judge and I in the civil department, we cleaned up a backlog of 6,000 cases. From then on, during our year of tenure on the civil bench, the civil courts ran smoothly and efficiently. Things were completed in a timely manner, and there was never again a backlog of anything. But prior to taking the bench in 2011, after being elected in 2010, I served as a prosecutor in Ada County, Idaho, in Boise, right out of school, and so I prosecuted both civil and criminal cases. From there, I served as an attorney in Reno, Nevada. I was appointed as a state training specialist and staff attorney for the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges. I set up training programs in model courts across the country dealing with abuse and neglect of kids. So I trained actually lawyers, judges, and social workers on the Adoption Assistance and Child Welfare Act. From there, I was appointed by the Nevada Supreme Court to head up the Nevada Law Foundation, providing equal access to justice for the disenfranchised in the state of Nevada. We serviced millions of people, took a program that was funding about $80,000 in legal services a year to providing over $2 million per year in legal services for the disenfranchised statewide. I ran that program as the director for 18 years, retired from there, sat as a pro tem judge in Las Vegas Municipal Court, Las Vegas Justice Court, North Las Vegas Justice Court, and I was appointed as an interim traffic commissioner for the city of Las Vegas when they were looking for a traffic commissioner. I sat in that role for 6 months while I was running for this seat, for which I was elected in 2010. I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. Grace is 15. She's a sophomore at the Las Vegas Academy. Morgan is 20. She's a junior at Chapman University in Southern California. And Cameron is 35, and he's married, and we have a 2-year-old grandbaby
we all know, about every 2 years, well, exactly every 2 years, the RJ publishes its Judging the Judges survey. And that oftentimes serves as the only window into the inner workings of the judiciary for most civilians who don't encounter the justice court or the district court on any regular basis, or quite candidly at all. What ideas do you have, and we'll start with Susan and go back to Shana, what ideas do you have to try and make that survey a better reflection of not only the individual judges themselves, but the judiciary as a whole? What improvements do you think can be made to that particular survey?
Well, John, I think that the community obviously needs to learn more about judges. With the system that we have, the election of judges, you know, it's what we have and it's what we're stuck with in our state and in our community. However, I think the Reboot Journal poll, although they do an excellent job with what they have and the questions that are posed to the attorneys, I don't know that you always are accurately, that each of those attorneys are accurately reflecting maybe their opinion, or I'm not sure if it could be the opinion of their firm. One attorney answering the question that appears before you in justice court or in district court or as a judge wherever you sit, you know, is their opinion. It's how they've been treated as an attorney for cases before them. But if an attorney doesn't like the ruling that they could get an entire firm of 200 or 300 members who actually fill out the survey, and then the survey can be skewed. I'm not saying it is. My numbers were, you know, more than adequate, but it's a tool for the community to know about the judges. But, you know, and all that is a tool. I think that you have to stay out there in the community as a judge. I think you have to participate in the community. You can't just get elected and, you know, sit in an ivory tower, so to speak, and stay, you know, behind the scenes. You have to be active in the community. And I've been active in this community for 56 years.
Shana.
In filling out that Review Journal survey, one thing I think is emphasized a lot is just how the attorney feels about the judge. And the questions are, not only is the judge fair, but does the judge treat each party with respect? And I do think that there are times when the reaction just between the personalities is what's driving the evaluation. And so one thing I'd like to see is some kind of data about the results that are happening in that courtroom, like what kind of, who the judgments are for in civil courtrooms, and in criminal ones, how many convictions there are, how many prelims get dismissed, things like that. Because I don't think we have any way of looking that up, and I don't think that voters have any way of knowing that.
So you think it would be more beneficial to have more of a statistical analysis?
I think so, just to kind of, because there's no way for somebody who doesn't work in the courthouse to know what kind of results are happening in each courtroom. There are some judges who have really aggressive personalities, and you either really like that or you don't. And I think in my office, people will decide, do I like this judge, and not necessarily, is my judge doing the right thing? So I think that would be useful.
Now, Shana, you indicated you've been a public defender for 8 years now. What do you think is the greatest source of inefficiency at the justice court level? And assuming you are elected, what will you do to address it?
Let's see. I would have to say the greatest inefficiency is when you have witnesses waiting in the courtroom all day long, and then at noon or 1 o'clock, the case negotiates or gets dismissed or something, and then they leave. And it's really bad when they're officers, because they're taking time out of their shift to be there. Sometimes we can't negotiate the cases ahead of time. We try to, if we think in any way that there, as a public defender, that there will be a way to negotiate it. Sometimes you just have to leave it on and have the witnesses there. But I think that really, that's a lot of people sitting around and waiting. And so, as a judge, if I were elected, I would call those cases first, or ask them if they believe they will be resolved at the beginning of the calendar, just to see if we can get those people out of there and back to work.
Like a roll call early on in the calendar?
Right, maybe at the beginning of the preliminary hearing calendar.
Susan?
John, you practice in justice court, and you've been in my court quite a few times. So,
Susan, I'm sorry, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think I need to right now, because
Okay.
I don't believe I gave this statement when we started. In fact, I know I didn't for this particular race. I do appear in front of Susan on a regular basis, quasi-regular basis. Because of that, I will moderate the interviews, but I will not be participating in the actual determination regarding the endorsements. I've said that to the previous potential JPs, I've said it to the district court judges. I just forgot to say it at the beginning of this interview because it's 3:30 in the afternoon. It's been a very, very long day for us, so I apologize for that, and I'm sorry for cutting you off. I just want to make that very clear to Shana, as well as to you, Susan, that I would not be actively participating in the actual endorsement evaluations, for lack of a better term.
Understood.
and I knew that because you've done that in the past, so. But as you know, I think that efficiency starts with being on time. So my court starts every morning at 7:30. When I take the bench, the public defenders have come in about 7:15 along with the district attorneys. They start negotiating cases. The district attorney will let me know, along with the public defender, that there are 2 cases left on for trial or 4 cases left on for trial. So we know exactly what we're looking at every single day. But a courtroom has to work together. And I think that a lot of the judges don't start on time, but I start each and every day at 7:30. I'm not late. And so we run a very tight ship in a very efficient courtroom. I have wonderful staff who helps, a good court reporter, and I have the privilege of working with some of the best district attorneys and public defenders, I believe, in the state. They are top-notch, they are great groups, and the attorneys that come in to appear in front of me are always prepared. So when you have people that do their job, and they want to do their job, and they enjoy what they're doing, they keep everything running efficiently and smoothly. We don't have witnesses sit around and wait. It's a very rare occasion that we start the trials at 8 o'clock. Maybe they will run into 8:30. Witnesses are subpoenaed typically for about 8:30 in my courtroom, so they're not sitting around waiting for 2 or 3 hours. It is important, like Shana said, to get people in and out quickly. We want to keep our police officers back on the street where they need to be, protecting the community. We need individuals to be able to go to work, to do their job, so they can continue to support their families and be productive members of society. So it's a group effort. It's not just the judge that does it. It's a group effort. It's everybody in a courtroom that works together to make the courtroom run efficiently.
Susan, you've been presiding over one of the specialty courts for several years, and I believe you indicated the past 5 years. Assuming you are reelected, what type of expansion would you like to see with respect to specialty courts? Not necessarily just the DUI court, but do you think there are other programs that the Justice Court could or probably should focus on where there are certain needs in the community to be addressed?
Well, John, as you know, we have the DUI specialty court, the domestic violence specialty court, we have the veterans treatment court, we have the drug treatment courts, both in justice court and in the district court. But I think that in I don't know if I said veterans, but the veterans court as well, I think that we need to really expand our court to include more mental health services and maybe a combination of mental health and homelessness for those people that we see on a regular basis. Because I think that those 2 areas, the mental health clients, a lot of times are also the ones that are homeless. And I think that they need to see some greater services. And if we could perhaps add another court, expand the community court program that Judge Yeager has started to include some of that, we might be able to get better results and more treatment for those people that truly need it in our community. And I don't know if you know that right now there's discussion, and we don't know how it's going to play out, about combining both of the DUI courts into one DUI court and perhaps splitting the domestic violence court into 2 because of the number
when will that decision be made, just out of curiosity?
I would imagine in the next 60 days,
So before, well,
right around,
yeah, right around
right
that.
around the election time.
58 days is what we've been told is the exact countdown for both of you. Shana, you've been a public defender for a while. What specialty courts or specialty court programs do you think should be focused on to try and address some needs that are still in the community?
Well, I do think it works really well to have the DUI court and the DV court. When I first started, everything was just on track, so it'd be all mixed up together. And those types of cases really work more smoothly if they're separated. So I think that whether it's 1 or 2 DUI courts or 1 or 2 DV courts, that works really well. But I would echo that mental health treatment and homelessness are big problems, and we try to address housing through our office, and it's challenging. There aren't that many options in Las Vegas right now, and the mental health facilities are really overburdened, and people are not getting the treatment that they need. I'm really hopeful that the community courts, when it starts in Las Vegas, will be as successful as the one that Judge Hu oversees in North Las Vegas, because from what I understand, everyone who's graduated from that program hasn't come back with a new criminal charge. And so that's a real sign of hope there. I think that addressing those underlying problems, like community courts aim to do, to address substance abuse, mental health problems, or homelessness, or even just job placement, things like that. That's how you're going to heal those problems, and that's how you're going to keep people from reoffending.
Kevin, as reluctant as I am, I'm going to toss it over to you because I know you always have an interesting question to ask of these candidates.
Okay. Public defender, sitting judge. I'd like to ask that if you do agree with me on the basis of that I believe that our society problem, what we're seeing now is a cost. And the cost of it are starting from children that are young, that is in our school right now, that have no moral or ethic education at all, because I believe children are conformed along with their peers, especially in grade school. And our grade school teacher have such power that are not being used at all. With that being said, I did like to see that if we have some sort of more and education material, more and educational material that is in a public school, would you agree and support that? Because we have no Bibles, which they used to have, and that is getting more and more problem. Because I have children of 5, and my daughter said, all much older, gone through public school just like I did. But the problem all started, and that until they are, about in the middle school and high school, the problem just becomes really worse. They just have no discipline. Very, very difficult. And when it comes to my son, which is 9 right now, that we vet them with good information. It takes a full-time mom, and that heals somewhat. But the problem now begins last year, when my son is in 3rd grade. He comes back, he's very obedient. Teachers, principals, kids' parents just love him because he's got a lot of etiquette and respect for people. But he's start being called teacher's pet, blah blah blah. You know how kids can be real rude. Those are problems, and he's like a lone. He's just like a player, become a lone wolf in there. And I found that to be very, very disturbing. Why are our kids other side of the aisle is very unruly, and do you agree that we should have some kind of education in our school system before our public school are being abandoned all over the place, to the private schools?
Well, maybe, and I'm sorry to, before you respond, maybe to frame it in a way that's pertinent to the fact that they're judges, or running for judge,
Right.
Be it a election or re-election might be, what ideas might you have to, perhaps, address, I don't know, maybe to go to elementary schools and, try and teach some children more about the criminal justice system in general, make it less imposing, maybe encourage them not to become, quote unquote, another statistic. What ideas might you have to get children on board, but kind of like with what Kevin was saying, I believe, to try and have them be more productive members of society at a young age and build that foundation. Is that kind of what you were driving at?
Yes, in somewhat, yeah.
Okay. We'll start with Shana.
Are you talking more about kind of like having like a ethics class in school for the children?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that the problem with that is that in this community we're a melting pot, and I know where you're coming from because my mom was a tiger mom, and she always thinks that kids are getting worse and worse. And when I taught English actually in Korea, the kids were perfect. They were so well behaved, and this was like kindergarten all the way through 18 years old. And my theory about that is just that the culture is all homogenous, like everyone kind of believes the same thing. And so the teachers treat the kids the way they would treat their own kids, and so they respect them the same. But they would never get in trouble, and they would go to their after-school programs, and everything was, for the most part, really great. I don't think you can do that here. I think it depends on the parents. Everybody has a different background and different beliefs. But we do have, I don't remember what it's called, but like a school day where judges and attorneys go to the schools and talk to them about what their jobs are. Maybe we could add a little bit about this is what happens in the criminal justice system. But I would just say having them be involved in after-school programs, sports, and things like that, that's what really helps, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, my children went through Catholic school, so they received the, religious training, as well as the education from pre-kindergarten through 8th grade, and then went into the public system after that. And it's hard as a parent, as you know, because you teach your child morals at home, and then they go to school and they're around other children and they begin to get socialized. But I think that as parents, we have to continue to start our teaching at home, continue to talk with our kids every single day, talk to them about their day and what has gone on to make sure that they aren't being bullied, like your child being called the teacher's pet. It's open conversations that we as parents, we as community members need to have. I served for 15 years as room mom at Our Lady of Las Vegas. So I was there at least once a week and sometimes more. I helped choreograph Christmas programs and other programs for the entire school. I still go into Our Lady. I talk to middle school students, high school students, and I also speak at CSN on about drinking and driving, substance abuse, the importance of staying in school. I talk to them about the judiciary, the different levels of government. So I, on a regular basis, go into the schools and I talk to these kids, regularly. I also have the privilege to work with children in the arts. I'm affiliated with Workshop for the Arts and also the Las Vegas Dance Stars. And in that role, I've helped find scholarship money for kids who couldn't afford after-school programs or who wanted to participate in the arts through dance to be able to have something to do after school to expand their horizons to work out their frustrations in a different environment. So they felt like they were important too, and that they would have something that they could continue to do. But, you know, they say that it takes a community to raise a child, and I truly believe that it does. It's not just a parent's responsibility, although that does start at home. It's all of the teachers together. It's society as a whole. You only get out of a community what you put into a community. So whether that's in the school system or whether that's in the workplace, I think that we as a community have to band together to maintain a safe and strong community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, we're pretty close to our time limit, so why don't we do this? 30 seconds each. We'll start with Susan and go to Shana. 30 seconds. Why are you the better candidate for Justice Court Department 13?
I'm the better candidate for Department 13 because I clearly have more experience. I have over 25 years of legal experience, and I'm in my 6th year on the bench as a Justice of the Peace, with having sat for 2 years prior to that as a pro tem judge. I'm there every day. I do the job. I've done a great job. I run an efficient courtroom. I have the support not only of the legal community, but I've also been endorsed straight across the board from law enforcement, veterans, seniors, labor groups, Citizens for an Ethical Judiciary. Each and every endorsement that I have sat for that is endorsed in this race, I've been given that endorsement. So I think it's pretty clear that I am the better candidate, not only because I have more experience, but also because the community believes that I am the best judge because I've been doing a good job. Thank you.
Shana.
I believe I'm the better candidate because I represent people every day. And I've been in the courtroom every day for 8 years. Before I was a public defender, I was a waitress, I was a cashier, I was a teacher, and I was raised by working class parents who taught us to appreciate and work really hard for what we have and to never take that for granted. And as a public defender, I know that my clients, when they walk in the courtroom, they have these fears of, will I be treated fairly? Will I be seen for who I am? And I feel that my experience advocating for them makes me a compassionate and experienced person to be a judge.
Well, before you guys run off, we'd love to take some pictures with you over